into the future. Brought to you by the Controllers Council. My name is Neil Brown, Executive Director of the Controllers Council. And before we introduce our speaker, I'd like to introduce our sponsor and also mention some brief housekeeping items. AvidXchange is a leader in automating invoice, payment, and AP processes. A fintech unicorn, AvidXchange processes more than $140 billion in transactions annually, with 1,500 employees and 6,000 customers. Okay, now for housekeeping. First, use your GoToWebinar control panel to ask our expert questions. Next, we'll have a few polling questions. So again, please use your GoToWebinar control panel to vote and compare your results to your peers. Finally, you'll receive a link to this webcast via email in the next 24 hours, so no need to take notes or screenshots. So with that, allow me to introduce our presenter and AP expert, Rhonda Green. Rhonda is a certified Accounts Payable Solutions Consultant, or APSC, and Principal Solution Consultant for AvidXchange. Rhonda brings more than 25 years of experience to help companies streamline AP. With that, I'll turn it over to Rhonda.
Thank you so much, Neil, and welcome everyone. We're certainly happy to have you join us today. So today we want to talk about the future of AP, how AP automation helps, what AvidXchange can do for you, and then at the end we'll have time for Q&A. So we're going to take a quick poll question first. Did your company implement new technologies within the past year? If you don't mind taking some time to log your answer, we'll give you about 30 seconds. You could just click on those for us. We would appreciate it. All right. Let's see. Oh, that's wonderful news. So about 67% said yes, that they did implement new technologies within the past year. 29% said no, and 5% were unsure. And I'd like to think that probably COVID and the pandemic in general drove folks to implement more new technologies. I know we certainly saw an uptick in the interest in AP automation. So definitely good thing to hear. I know as we all move toward the future, automation is definitely on the forefront of a lot of controllers' minds to make sure that you're prepared especially prepared for growth. So good to hear. We thank you for taking the time to answer that. So let's talk about the future. So a flexible workforce that can keep the business moving forward even in uncertain times. And I think, again, we all saw with COVID that we all had to be very flexible. I know from talking to many of my peers out in the AP management space that many people were caught off guard, that because their AP process was still manual, they didn't have access to their information. So they didn't have their invoices, they didn't have the ability to make payments because their check printers were there in the office and their check stock, etc. So it was a really quick kind of pivot to a work from home scenario. And typically, as we know, AP is typically not a department that usually works from home. So again, trying to make sure that vendors were getting paid was definitely a struggle. But with automation, you can definitely then move into the future to navigate any future uncertain times that we may experience, particularly with cloud-based solutions like what we offer. You're able to literally work from anywhere. So you can, obviously work from the office, but you also have the ability to work from home and anywhere really that you have an internet connection. So we saw more and more folks making the shift so that they would be able to have that information, quickly. And so we were glad to see that happen. Unfortunately, it took a pandemic, but I hope to see that it continue to move in that direction. Next. So what's getting in the way? Again, if we think about what all we experienced last year, so many small and mid-sized businesses still rely on paper checks. And it's unfortunate, especially when you look at that percentage, 80%. And some of you may think, well, that can't be right. I'm making some ACH payments in addition to paper checks, but it really is. When I'm out in the field talking to people, so many still rely on the paper check, and not being able to access that check printer with that special toner or maybe your check stock really got in the way. And it maybe made some companies compromise a little bit on their controls. I actually heard from one person that said they had to bring their check printer home and cut checks from home. And certainly that's alarming from a control standpoint. So again, moving from that paper check process, or really paper in general, anywhere in the AP process, is going to be paramount to be able to move into the future.